Welcome back, everybody. This is tutorial 9 in our Learning to Use GeoGebra series. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to graph a line and be able to adjust the slope and the y-intercept of that line with sliders and also display the slope triangle of the line. So let's get started. I've already got us in algebra and graphics view. So the first thing we want to do is create two sliders. So the first slider we'll name M, and this will be the slope of our line. And the second slider we'll call B, and that will be the y-intercept. And then in the input bar, we want to type in the equation for a line in slope-intercept form. Y equals M, space for multiply, plus B. And that'll graph the line for us, and we can see that we can adjust the parameters of that line. So we can adjust the y-intercept by changing B, and we can adjust the slope by changing the parameter M. Next, what we want to do is we want to create the intersection of that line and the y-axis, and we also want to create a point at the origin. And then we'll connect those 2 points with a line segment. And then we'll go in and we'll modify the properties of that line segment with object properties. What we'll do is we'll make it thicker so we can see it over the y-axis. And then also, let's just change the color. We'll make it blue. And since we made that blue, let's go ahead and modify the object properties of our slider for B, which is the y-intercept, and let's also make that blue. So that'll relate the y-intercept that we can see with our line segment and our slider for changing the y-intercept position. So now we can see if we go and we move our slider around, change the y-intercept by changing B, we can see that that will change the length of that line segment as well. So then let's go use a new tool. So that tool is the slope triangle. So go and click on slope, click on the line, and that'll create the slope triangle of the line. So basically it will give you the rise over the run. So it'll have a run or a change in x of 1, and then it'll give you the slope. And you can visualize that nicely. So now as we change the slope around, we can see our slope triangle will also change. And so that's construction that lets you interactively explore the properties of a line. And so let's just tidy it up a little bit. We'll go ahead and change the color of the slope. We'll make that red to make it look a little bit better. And then we can also go to our line, change the properties of our line. We'll make it thicker to make it look a little bit better. And then we can also, we'll take away some of the labels. So we'll take away the label for C. And then we'll actually remove our points. Maybe we'll keep the point for the y-intercept point, but we will not show the label of that point. So that just cleans it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit nicer. And you can go ahead and just play around with this and explore how changing the parameters for the slope and the y-intercept changes the properties of the line. So that was a fairly quick construction. So what we'll do is we'll do another construction and we'll study the properties of the absolute value function. So we want to start off by making two sliders. Call the first one A and leave it at its default values. The second one will be called B and also leave that at its default values. And then in the input bar, we want to type in f of x equals absolute value function, which is ABS. Then we'll go with a left parentheses, type in x plus a, and then move your cursor outside the parentheses and type in plus b. And that'll create an absolute value function, and we can adjust the horizontal position of that absolute value function by shifting the slider A. So notice that if the slider A is positive and moves more towards the positive direction, the absolute value function will shift to the left. And if we move toward A towards the negative direction, the absolute value function will shift to the right. And then we can change the vertical position by changing the parameter B. So for now, we'll just set A and B at 0, 0. So now what we want to do is we want to create another slider. We'll call it C, and for the minimum value of this slider, we want to make it equal to B plus 0.1, and we'll keep the max at 5. And so now we want to create a new function. We'll call it G sub x, and we'll set that equal to C. Okay, and so now what we want to do is we want to take the intersection of that horizontal line with the absolute value function. We can see that it intersects it in two places. And so we'll go ahead and create intersection points at both those positions. And so now what we're looking at is those 2 points represent the solution to the absolute value function when we set it equal to g of x, or that constant function c that we're defining. So if c is equal to 1, we can see that we have solutions for x at x equals plus 1 and x equals minus 1, where that absolute value function is equal to 1. And so you can see that in general, the solutions to an absolute value function will have two solutions due to the symmetry of the function about the y-axis. And so we can change c around, and we can see how the solutions to the absolute value function will change as we set it equal to a different value of c. We can also modify our points a and b and see how the solutions will change as we change a and b. So have some fun playing around with that and exploring the properties of the absolute value function. And that's it for the tutorial for today, and we'll see you again next time.